In the dead of winter, the northern forests of Canada are a world unto themselves, silent, save for the occasional snap of a frozen branch or the whisper of the wind through the pines. It was this inhospitable land during the winter of 1878 that a man named Swiftrunner would encounter a terror beyond imagination. Swiftrunner, a Cree trapper and family man, had always been known for his resilience. The winter of 1878, however, was unusually harsh. Snow piled high, blocking access to the nearest trading post, and game became incredibly scarce. His family, isolated in their small cabin deep in the woods, began to suffer from hunger. Desperation gnawed at Swiftrunner's mind, and soon the vast, silent forest seemed to close in on them. One night, as the wind howled outside, Swiftrunner awoke to a strange presence in the room. A tall, emaciated figure stood by the fire, its sunken eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. Its body was skeletal, the skin stretched tight over protruding bones, and its breath filled the cabin with the stench of decay. The creature said nothing, but its gaze bore into Swiftrunner's soul, filling him with this overwhelming sense of dread. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind an icy chill that settled deep within Swiftrunner's bones. The next day, he dismissed the vision as a nightmare born from hunger and exhaustion, but the unease remained. Over the following weeks, as food supplies dwindled further, Swiftrunner began hearing a voice, soft at first, but growing louder with each passing day. It whispered dark thoughts, urging him to commit unspeakable acts to survive. His family, too weak to question, could do little as Swiftrunner became more withdrawn and agitated. Finally, in a moment of desperation and madness, Swiftrunner gave in to the voice. The aftermath was a horror beyond comprehension. When spring finally arrived and a search party reached the cabin, they found the gruesome evidence that had occurred. Swiftrunner, emaciated and wild-eyed, confessed to having killed and consumed his entire family. He claimed he had been possessed by the Wendigo, a spirit that had driven him to cannibalism. The authorities were horrified, and Swiftrunner was arrested and later hanged for his crimes. But the legend of the Wendigo had only just begun. Decades later, in the early 20th century, the legend of the Wendigo reappeared in the rugged wilderness of northern Ontario. Jack Fiddler, an OG Cree shaman and chief, had long been known among his people as a powerful healer and protector. However, he was also feared, for Jack claimed to have encountered the Wendigo many times and had even killed those he believed were turning into the creature. Jack Fiddler's most infamous encounter occurred when a woman in his tribe began exhibiting strange behavior. She refused to eat, her skin turned a ghastly pallor, and she muttered incoherently about the insatiable hunger. Fearing that she was becoming a Wendigo, Jack Fiddler took it upon himself to save his people from the creature's curse. One night, under the cover of darkness, Jack and his brother subdued the woman and ended her life, believing they were preventing her full transformation. News of the killing reached the Canadian authorities, who arrested Jack Fiddler and his brother for murder. During his trial, Jack defended his actions, stating that he had no choice but to protect his tribe from the Wendigo's curse. The court, however, was unsympathetic. Jack was convicted of murder, but before his sentence could be carried out, he took his own life. His death marked the end of an era, but the stories of his battles with the Wendigo continue to haunt the northern woods. In the winter of 1932, another tale of terror emerged from the icy wilderness, this time involving a man known as the Mad Trapper, Albert Johnson. A mysterious and reclusive figure had come to the attention of the authorities after a series of strange and violent incidents. Johnson had built a cabin in the remote wilderness of the Yukon, but soon began harassing the local indigenous communities, sabotaging their traps and stealing supplies. When the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, better known as the RCMP, attempted to confront him, Johnson fled into the wilderness, evading capture with an almost supernatural ability. The ensuing manhunt lasted 33 days, during which time Johnson displayed incredible endurance and strength, surviving in sub-zero temperatures without proper supplies. Some of the Mounties began to believe that Johnson was possessed by a Wendigo, a theory that gained traction after several officers reported seeing a tall, gaunt figure with glowing eyes watching them from the tree line. The chase came to a bloody end, and when Johnson was finally cornered in a narrow mountain pass, a fierce gunfight ensued and Johnson was killed. When the Mounties examined his body, they were shocked to find that he was still alive, despite suffering multiple gunshot wounds. It was as if the Wendigo spirit had indeed possessed him, giving him unnatural strength and the ability to withstand incredible pain. To this day, the true nature of Albert Johnson remains a mystery, with some insisting that the Mad Trapper was more than just a man. In the earliest 20th century, the dense forest surrounding Fort Kent, Maine, became the backdrop for a series of terrifying encounters with a creature that many believed to be a Wendigo. Hunters and trappers reported seeing a gaunt, humanoid figure with glowing eyes moving silently through the trees. The creature's presence was always accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread, as if it was drawing closer to its prey. One particularly harrowing encounter occurred when a hunter named Thomas Benoit set out to track the creature after hearing rumors of its existence. Benoit was an experienced woodsman, but as he ventured deeper into the forest, he began to feel an unnatural chill. The woods, normally alive with the sounds of wildlife, had fallen eerily silent. Suddenly, Benoit saw it. A tall, skeletal figure moving between the trees. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and it seemed to watch him with a malevolent intelligence. Benoit tried to take aim with his rifle, but his hands were trembling so violently that he could barely hold the weapon. The creature let out a low, guttural growl, and Benoit turned and fled, abandoning his gear as he ran. He didn't stop until he reached the safety of the town, where he told his story to anyone who would listen. Though many dismissed his tale as a result of fear and imagination, those who knew Benoit could see the terror in his eyes. He never returned to the forest, and the area became known as the place where the Wendigo roamed. The Cold Lake region of Alberta has long been known as a place of mystery and fear, with locals telling stories of a creature that stalks the forest during the long winter months. Known for its bone-chilling cold and deep snowdrifts, the area is inhospitable at the best of times. But those who have encountered the Wendigo, the cold is at the least of their worries. In the winter of 1942, a group of friends decided to take a camping trip near Cold Lake, hoping to enjoy the pristine beauty of the snow-covered landscape. They set up camp near the edge of the forest and spent the evening around the fire, telling stories and enjoying the peace of the wilderness. As the night deepened, the wind began to pick up, howling through the trees with an almost human-like wail. Panic set in, and they quickly packed up their camp, leaving behind everything they couldn't carry as they fled. The creature's mournful call followed them through the trees, echoing in their ears long after they reached the safety of their vehicle. None of them returned to Cold Lake, and the story of their encounter became local legend, a warning to those who might venture too close to the Wendigo's domain. The legend of the Wendigo endures to this day, a chilling reminder of the primal fears that lie deep within us all. Whether it's a tale of Swift Runner, driven to madness and cannibalism, or the mysterious figure of the Mad Trapper, these stories speak to a terror that is both ancient and all too real. The Wendigo, with its insatiable hunger and unnatural strength, is a symbol of the darkness that can consume a person when they are pushed to the brink. But the Wendigo is more than just a creature of legend. It is a reflection of the human soul, a warning of what we become when we surrender to our basest instincts. As long as there are dark forests and lonely winters, the Wendigo will continue to haunt our nightmares, a shadow on the edge of firelight, whispering of the endless hunger that lies within. Suddenly, the wind seemed to shift, carrying with it a sound that none of them could explain. A low, mournful call, like a voice on the edge of hearing. The group felt silent, straining to listen. Then they saw it, a tall, gaunt figure moving between the trees, its eyes glowing in the darkness. It moved with an unnatural speed, circling the camp but never coming closer. Despite the distance, the friends felt a wave of terror, as if the creature was drawing them in.